Hi, my name is Tchekhovskoy, and I'm an assistant professor of physics and astronomy at Northwestern.
Hi, I'm Achal Bassamboo. I'm a professor of operations in Kellogg School of Management.
Hi everyone, I'm Shane Larson. I'm a professor in physics and astronomy.
Today, we're going to share with you our experience of teaching in a pandemic and connecting with our virtual audiences using the green screen and Lightboard approaches. So why green screen and Lightboard? Is it better than the iPad, which most of us are familiar with? The student reviews are unambiguous. They very strongly feel that these approaches are way more engaging than the iPad lectures. And you can see that all the students rank the green screen approach to be more effective than the iPad approach. The results are even more stunning for the Lightboard approach that we're going to talk about later. So why is that? Why do the students love these approaches so much? They make it much easier for them to digest the material. For instance, the students are saying that these approaches make it very easy to follow the material. It's a great way of relaying the information, and they're fascinated by the setup. They really value the time that we as instructors invest into making the video lectures. They make the students feel engaged and connected to the course, and they help them with the learning. These are some of the best lectures, as the students say, that anyone has during the remote learning, and they are the best adapted to the COVID remote instruction of the courses that they have taken. It was the first time that they've actually felt that they've learned the material. So using these approaches was actually better than an in-person class, and that is what another student says. Let us try and dive in to how these approaches work. This actually is a green screen approach, and we will take a look at how to get it set up. But we will start slow with something that any of us can do really easily at home, and we're going to build up to more complicated setups such as this.
Green screen is a catch-all name for a type of technology that's usually called chroma key. So this is the identification of a uniform color in a frame, a video frame in our case is what we're talking about, and replacing it with a digital image. So you don't have to use green. You could use a color like blue. You could have your bright blue screen background. You could have some bright kind of orange or primary color that you could use. This is just a bed sheet that I had. When I started during the pandemic, I was using this lime green bed sheet, lime green bed sheet. So about a few months into the pandemic, I went ahead and ordered a proper or a marketed chroma key color. I have these little clips that are hooked to hooks that I've screwed into the top of my bookshelf, and I have 4 of them along here. I take the green screen and I clip it up at the top of the bookshelf there so that the green screen fills the entire background behind me. Now you'll notice I use that kind of full chroma key green color, but down here in the lower corner right now, at this time of day, the sun's shining on it. And that's one of the things I was telling you earlier, that light on your chroma key will often have a brighter spot that the computer won't recognize as the appropriate color. Okay, so you do your lecture completely this way. You just have to put up a big something behind you and it covers your cluttered study behind you. But using the chroma key is actually very useful, both pedagogically as well as just for kind of hiding your normal life behind you. So let me show you how to do that here in Zoom for those of you who don't know how to do it. So if you go to your Zoom preferences, and if you've done virtual screens before, you've done this. So there's an option called background and filters. So if I click on that, this is where you can normally select or import an image that you want to use in your background. So if I just click, say, on this spacey image right here, you'll see that the computer uses an algorithm to clip out the background and just leave me with the virtual background in behind. It's not using the green screen at this point, so it's doing it completely by algorithm, and so you can see that it's imperfect. It doesn't know exactly where my hands are, and if I move too quickly, you can see through me and see the the normal background through the projected virtual background. What the chroma key does is it tells the computer, look for this color specifically and change it. So in the zoom options, you'll see right there, I have a green screen. So if I click on it, it does the subtraction much better. And this is what gives you that really excellent cutout look that looks like you're a weather person standing in front of a virtual background. Okay, so that's where the green screen is. Now, what I had said earlier is you didn't have to use, and you can see the chroma key is failing there because of the sunlight on my screen right now. So what I had said earlier is you don't have to use green, right? So one of the options is, it's right here in your zoom window. You'll see that little tab there in the preview window that it has. And if you click on that, it'll give you a little plus, a little eyedropper that you can use, and you can select any color you want. So if you don't have a green screen, if you have an orange screen or a blue screen, just click back there and it will substitute for it. But you can be creative with that, right? So I'm wearing this red hoodie right now. If I click on the red of my hoodie, it puts the virtual background on my hoodie color. Okay, and so you could do creative things. Now, you also see the problem with choosing certain colors, right? So the red color is kind of close to some of my skin tone, so it's trying to virtualize on top of my face and my ears as well, but maybe you have a pedagogical use for that in class as well, okay? So you can use any color you want, but you do have to be careful. If you're using, say, the chroma key color in the background, then, you know, that day you'll not want to wear green, for instance. I have a green water bottle, and anytime I hold it up, it gets blotted out. Here's my green fountain pen, right? And so it blots it out with the space image because the chroma key thinks it's green, okay? So as I said a minute ago, I use this pedagogically. So I'm not just hiding the clutter of my study. I'm definitely doing that. But I use this pedagogically when I'm teaching classes. So both at the starts of my classes, before I lecture with normal PowerPoint or Keynote slides, and also when I do public lectures, I almost always start with a carefully chosen image behind me that is relevant to the topic of the day or to the topic of the lecture. So for instance, this is a black hole. And I haven't corrected the sunlight, so I'm sorry about that. But this is a black hole. So if we were going to talk about black holes in astronomy today, I would start the lecture by doing the weather person thing in front of the black hole image. And I would use it kind of like the way you'd use an outline slide in your PowerPoint presentation. I would use what's in the image to help orient students to what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about the size of the black hole, its diameter, and how we define that as astronomers. We'll talk about the way the black hole interacts with objects in the universe like stars and gas that swirls down into the black hole, okay? And we'll talk about astrophysical effects like what we call accretion. Black holes absorbing gas and it's swirling around into the black hole in what we call an accretion disk. Okay, so I would use that to orient the students to the conversation for the day, and then I would go back into my PowerPoint slides or go into my PowerPoint slides for the first time, and I will occasionally refer to the image that I used at the beginning. Sometimes I'll jump out of my PowerPoint slides and go right back to the image that I have behind me on my green screen. Now, you can also use it to good pedagogical effect. Here's an example of a lecture that I did about traveling across the universe for my astrobiology class. So I put the virtual background of the Enterprise bridge behind me and made sure I had my Star Trek uniform on. So you can use this for theatrical effect in terms of your pedagogy as well, if you find that useful. Okay? This got a lot of attention from parents. This was right at the beginning of the pandemic, so parents were pleased that that their students were getting a good lecture experience in their astrobiology class. So, okay, so that's kind of how I use the green screen, both in terms of my setup here and in terms of my class. Hopefully, it'll give you some ideas about ways you can do it, give you some notions about how you can use materials you may already have around your house for if you don't have a perfect green chroma key, and ways that it might be useful pedagogically in your class.
Let us look at the easiest way you can achieve the effect of you in front of slides where you can point to different things. And this is a feature in Zoom called slide as the background feature. So you can see I've started a Zoom call. That's where I'm in this window. There is an option of screen share, which we typically use, and we share the PowerPoint window. In this case, rather than clicking on it, we'll go to the advanced option and we will choose slide as a virtual background. Notice while I'm doing this, I don't need any special software, no OBS, no Logitech cam. You can have any kind of web camera. You don't even need a green screen behind you because Zoom uses AI to cut you out and paste you on top of the slides. So let's use this. Notice the only restriction is it can only be a PowerPoint slide. The PDFs cannot be used as the background. So I'm going to choose this particular deck. It will take each and every slide and prepare the background. I think if you have animations in PowerPoint, they might not come through. So be conscious of that. And if your student is watching you on an iPhone, they will not be able to see this merged image. They would then be observing you in a window, as you can see in the other picture above me right here. The benefit of this is you can obviously point to things on your slide as you teach. You can also scale it. So if you click on it, you can actually scale it and I can be on the entire screen, and then I can take a step back. And now I can move just like in a physical classroom, pointing to things. So for instance, I can say that we are presenting at, and you can see I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm presenting at TEACHx 2021. Okay. So this is the easiest way you can achieve that look and the way of that engagement without using any additional software. Now let's look at a little bit more advanced version of the setup that we created, which will also give us a little more cleaner output and will have the benefit that you can use any part of your screen or a window as your background. For this, you will need a Logitech webcam. That's what I'm using right now, along with a software called Capture. So this is that software and this is how that interface looks like. That interface allows you to have two sources which are stitched together. And here what I'm doing is I have source one, which is where I'm using the Logitech Brio webcam. And here you can see I need a green screen if I really want that Weatherman-like effect. And to do that, I will use the chroma key and remove my background. Now in the second one, I am using a PDF. And in this case, that PDF is being captured from a window capture. But if you want to show an Excel, you can do that. If you want to show a movie, you can actually make that as well as your source too. Now, at the bottom, it actually gives you the various ways in which these can be stitched together. So for a moment, let me remove the chroma key to show you how that would look. It will basically create a picture within a picture where you can see my content is at the back, but when I point, I'm still inside this window. This window can again be resized. You can actually make it bigger or smaller. And now if I go to my source one and remove the chroma key, it gives me the same effect. But notice I have a PDF behind me, which is this particular PDF. And as I navigate that PDF, the same thing would happen in the Logitech window. Okay. Now, obviously you can create the same effect and you can move it the other way around. So sometimes you want to be in front of the students and have the image smaller, or you can put them side by side like this and alternatively just flips. So this gives you multiple options, and now you can actually share multiple things and set up more complicated scenes. These scenes are then imported into Zoom by using this camera option, and Capture shows up as a camera within Zoom. So when I start a call in Zoom, let me do that. This is my Zoom call now. And the image is flipped because I have chosen that as an option But if I do not mirror my image, I will be able to see what the students will be observing. So this is another way where you get the weatherman-like effect, you being in front of the screen, pointing to items and presenting things. And all of this is controlled within the logic capture, where you can reset the image to be bigger, or you can set up a different setup that you like, which you prefer, and it shows up in the zoom window. So this is, I would say, a little bit more sophisticated setup, and also gives you the flexibility of not being tied to just a PowerPoint deck and using it just as a background.
So far, we have talked about using a green screen for communicating material in the virtual environment. This is an equivalent of making a PowerPoint talk with a projector or using a TV where you can point to something using your hands. However, what if you would like to communicate material using handwriting? Then green screen would perhaps be not such a great medium. So what we will do now, we will show you how you can still use the green screen in order to communicate handwriting.
Now let me show you a third way in which you can create the weatherman-like effect, and I call it the most advanced version because you can use this feature to do multiple things, a variety of engagements that you would like. So right now, it's very simple. It's an open source software called OBS, which allows you to create these different scenes, which takes different inputs, stitch them together and feeds them out. And I can input them into the Zoom meeting. There are lots of OBS Zoom windows set up, which is talked about online, and you can do this on Mac, you can do it on Windows. What I want you to show here is just the power of this technique. You can talk just normally, where this is me, I have taken my background. You need a green screen if you really want to remove the background. But then you can also get the input from an iPad where I put my slide behind me, and not only I'm projecting, but I can annotate in real time using an iPad app, which could be GoodNotes, Notability, any of these softwares that you like, or even PowerPoint. Further, you can use these to create an experience where you can have a black background and you can write together by taking points from the students. So in real time, you can actually write things on it and make it more interactive, or even record this for an asynchronous content that you would like to post for the students. Okay. The third power of this that I wanted to show is I typically show like process flow charts. So you can actually have a flow chart and write on it, but you can also show videos. And this is, for instance, a video of a flow chart that I show sometimes to the students, where I'm talking about a car rental company and how does the car move around to make it more interactive for them and to keep their attention and enhance the engagement.
And now, as we promised, we're going to come back to this setup and see how it works. What I have is a backdrop that is nothing but the green screen, as now you can see. And it's surrounded by 5 lights. There are 2 lights blasting me from over here. There is a key light at the bottom that shines in my face. And there are 2 lights on the sides that light up the background, just so that the software can nicely separate it out from me and replace it with whatever background I would like to use. So this is a rather simple setup, and overall the cost of all of this is roughly $200, about $150 for the lights and the backdrop, and about $50 for this microphone that I'm wearing here. And you can see that the microphone provides a much nicer quality of audio. For instance, if I now switch over to the microphone that is in my web camera on the computer, then the quality, of course, degrades and goes down because the sound has to travel and the microphone is not such a great quality. In addition, in order to replace the background, just like Achal and Shane have explained, you need to use a piece of software. In my case, I use the OBS, Open Broadcasting System software, that allows me to put anything I want in the background. So of course, this is just a green screen. And what I'm doing is I am taking my PowerPoint slides and I'm inserting them as the background so I can go back and forth on the slides. I can put anything I want here, movies, animation, whatever, plots. Now we're going to move on to the Lightboard, which is standing right here. And I will show you how you can use it to approximate Blackboard, a whiteboard experience in an online setting. So what if you need to use handwriting in your course? For instance, if your course includes a lot of derivations, such as many math courses do. What if you actually want to physically write and the students see your writing? Blackboard requires you to turn around all the time, and students see your back instead of your face while you write. Lightboard, our transparent piece of glass or whiteboard on which you can write, opens up a lot of options. You can see that the Lightboard is nothing but a wooden frame that I built from 3 wooden bars that I bought in Home Depot. And please come to the office hours where I'm happy to share all the information. Then I got a $10 LED strip that I attached to the edges, to the sides of the glass. And it lights up the glass internally so that if I draw something on the Lightboard, it glows, which creates a stunning experience for the students. You can see that both green screen and Lightboard approaches have been highly successful. And as you can see, you can combine your writing with plots, graphs, or even movies. Let's do that. In addition, you can enrich your lectures by including some of the ambience and sharing some of your life as a professor. Students are really interested in that, and I got a lot of positive feedback when I included a big fluffy dog, Coleman, in my lectures. Once you build your Lightboard or green screen setup, what's really important is to get the lighting right. So for that, let me draw a diagram. First of all, of course, we need to have a nice backdrop. That is the only place where the green screen and the Lightboard setups differ. For the green screen setup, you want to have a green backdrop, and for the Lightboard setup, I typically prefer to use the black backdrop. That is because had I used the green backdrop, just like for the green screen setup, then that would have limited the choice of colors that I can have here, and I wouldn't be able to use the green or a similar yellow color because they would be too close in color to the backdrop. So the black backdrop allows me to use the full gamut of colors, which is something that I really appreciate. So once we have settled on the backdrop, we now need to choose the lights. And there are 3 most important lights. 2 lights on the sides over here that blast me at around 45-degree angle on the left and on the right. So if that is me over here, then I will have 2 lights, one on the left and one on the right, that would light me up somewhat from the sides. And in addition to that, it's really important to have a light that is in the middle. So these would be side lights. And the one here is the key light. This one lights up my face, and it's right here above me. I use the key light for both the green screen and the Lightboard setup. For the Lightboard, it's really important to make sure that you can see my face. If I were to switch it off, you can see that the picture becomes more dull. You cannot see my face as brightly, and it is much better when I switch the key light back on. For the green screen, it actually is fine to be without the key light because I can move these lights away, and they seem to give a pretty uniform lighting to my face. But then you can start seeing the shadows that that I cast on the backdrop, and those shadows are not completely removed from the green screen. So key light allows you to have a more uniform lighting, not only of you, but also of the green screen as well. If you're using the green screen, then it's also important to have the lights that would light up the green screen itself. What I do is I use umbrella lights. These umbrella lights right here that you see, they are most important for lighting up the green screen to eliminate the shadows and to have really high quality image where the background is completely removed and replaced with the one that you want. I'm still using these umbrella lights even in the case of the Lightboard, and that is because I would like you to see a little bit of the ambience, especially if I use the second camera that allows you to see what's going on in the room. Of course, finally, a very important part of the setup is the camera. The green screen setup is much more forgiving. So you can use any camera you like, a MacBook built-in camera or an iPad camera, doesn't matter. Any camera will do a good job, provided that it can give you a sufficiently high resolution to meet your needs. Typically, I record the green screen resolution of 720 vertical pixels. For the Lightboard approach, things are a little bit more challenging. You can see that there is a huge contrast between the dark background and the really bright writing on the screen. And that taxes your camera, namely the dynamical range that the camera can sustain. I tried recording this, my lectures, Lightboard lectures, both with a MacBook built-in camera and with a professional camera that I'm currently talking to you, through which I'm currently talking to you, and you can tell the difference. The Lightboard looks much crispier, much sharper when I'm using the professional camera, in my case Lumix S5, and the MacBook camera is leading to more of a blurry image with aliasing that the camera can't quite get rid of. So while you can get away with the built-in camera to the MacBook, for instance, the picture will not be as good as using a dedicated camera with a bigger sensor. Let me know if you have any questions about the camera choice over here. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope to see you at the office hours at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Bye-bye.